bias formed in society. Did you know that 100% of people are not born prejudiced to any race or gender? When children are born and they are fresh minds. They have no bias, they don't know anything, they don't even know right from wrong. So these biases are formed in the environment that they are developed in based on what they see, hear, and taught. It is not the fault of the children that they grow up to see a majority of power and influence concentrated among one race. So if we don't act in their lives as they age to show context to that imbalance, they may continue to believe that one group is better or worse than another based on nothing other than color, features, or expressions. This is because when they are developing, we put these biases in their minds. But if we didn't put these biases in their minds to begin with, then there would be nothing to have to interact and balance back. For example, Muslims. When a child is born, every child hears about the 9/11 attack, but they just hear Muslims did it. They hear that Muslims killed over 2,000 people and it's one of the saddest attacks that's ever happened in America. But these children are so young that they don't understand that it's not all Muslims. If parents took the time to explain to children that it was 5 Muslims, 5 bad people, that the Muslim race didn't have anything to do with it, these children wouldn't grow up with such a difficult bias against them. When children see Muslims now, this is immediately what comes to their mind because they didn't understand as a child, and this is just what has developed when they're adults. So because of this, a perpetrator who is not Muslim would have to kill on average of about 7 more people to receive the same amount of coverage as a perpetrator who's Muslim. This is because as a child grows up, we don't put these negative bias on other races. It's only the Muslim race, which means that now when someone who's Muslim does something wrong, it's seen as so much worse than someone else who's not of that race. So would everyone prefer a yacht and a beautiful golf course and a mansion on a beach? Or would you prefer a poor motel and mangroves? Most of us are going to say the beautiful yachts and the beautiful beach and such. But someone like Richard Blanco, who grew up, and this is his vacation place, it never looked like that when he went on vacation. This is what was luxurious to him. So when he grows up and he goes back and looks for the motel that he went to as a child, he gets really upset. He says, "I'm 38, driving up the Collier Boulevard looking for the Golf Motel, for everything that should still be, but isn't. I want to blame the condos for the shadow ruining the beach and my past. I want to chase down the snowbirds away with their tacky mansions and yachts. I want to turn the golf courses back into mangroves. I want to find the Golf Motel exactly as it was and pretend for a moment nothing is lost." He gets so upset over this because of what he saw when he was a child. That's what he was accustomed to. And as an adult, this follows him through until he was 38, and he gets so upset that things have changed. That's kind of how things are for children. When you put these in their minds, it's really hard to change their beliefs and such because that's what they knew from a child. A Harvard researcher tells us that a 3 to 4-year-olds demonstrate the same level and type of bias as adults. This tells us that children get it very quickly, and it doesn't require a mature level of cognition to form a negative bias. So these kids are really young. They're just kids playing in the park, right? But everyone believes that they're too young to get these kind of big ideas of racism or sexism. People think that how could a child that little grasp such a big idea of racism and such? But really, the truth is they get it because of something like monkey see, monkey do. Children go their entire lives and they know nothing, which means that their role models around them and the people that they see every day are who they act like. So if they see their heroes, like their parents or older siblings, do these things, they're going to follow it and they're not going to ask why. So they're mature enough to understand the idea of what it is, but they don't understand why we do it, how wrong it is, or anything like that. For example, Lewis Carroll was a grown man, but he had many mental disorders. It kept him from being normal. It kept him from, most importantly, society pushing upon their beliefs on him because he never understood enough from society and he kind of contained himself. So he never had society to suppress him at all. So his writings, I chose The Looking Glass House because he takes a woman. It's not a man in this. And I feel like if it was an older person who understood in society, they would make it completely different. And here's why. He made it Alice, and she was living in a chessboard, but the goal was to become a queen. Most times today in society, it's seen as the queen is just the show face. They're the beautiful one. They're just for show and tell, basically. And the king is the one with all the power. She has no say. She's just the face. But since he hadn't had bias put upon him, he wasn't he had no prejudice against any women. And that's why it was important that he made Alice the show of everything, and he made her the one to become the queen. This follows up through in high school behaviors. Since we are all pushed upon in society when it comes to things such as high school and even adulthood, it follows us through, and you see how the boy, he has his shirt off and he wrote on his chest, and it's school spirit. That's what they see it as, and it's okay. But a female who does the same thing, it's seen as inappropriate behavior because of things that society has put into their mind. If there was never an imbalance, then there would never be this thought. It would both be okay. And it falls into adults. So when people go out to get jobs, there's 58% of women in the economic world who face discrimination in jobs, which means that this could affect them with how successful they get one day, how much money they can make, how independent they can be. It affects so much. And then even worse, to be a woman who's also Muslim, if you just wear a hijab, that's 69% of women who have been discriminated against in the world. Everyone thinks that it's such a hard thing to stop, but really it's not. As Bob Dylan said, the answer's blowing in the wind. If we did not teach these to little kids from a young age, it would disappear from our society. It would never be a problem. It would just disappear slowly with age. But everyone decides to just look past it, and they just easily just make it past it. They pretend like they can't do anything about it, when really there's a much simpler solution. Just don't teach children that it's okay. Don't show it, don't anything, and it won't happen again. So although not everyone is going to abide by this, not everyone's going to be okay with it, and not everyone's just going to stop showing these bias to their children, it would completely affect the society for the better, and women and Muslims would not have to face these kinds of things, and children would grow up, and everyone would be a lot more friendly and happy, and the world would be a better place. Here's my works cited.
Okay, a couple of questions. The first question is, how valid and reliable are the sources you've used? How do you know and which sources didn't work?
I felt like my sources were very valid. All of the sources that I used were a lot of them were kind of more bias-based, so part of it could be iffy, but at the same time, my Richard Blanco source and my Bob Dylan source, they were just kind of saying their personal beliefs, which couldn't really have credibility behind it, but it was really reliable based on if you thought about it, the answer blowing in the wind, what he was saying was really reliable.
Okay, and then your second one is, what advice would you have for other researchers who consider the topic?
I would definitely say that it's a very controversial topic, and it's really difficult to find more evidence upon, but I would definitely say, be ready for a challenge, because it takes a lot to think of things in, different ways, and especially solutions. The solutions was really difficult to come upon, so definitely be ready for the challenge.
Okay.